Welcome to the Coral Springs Chamber Biz Academy. I want to thank our title sponsor, the City of Coral Springs Economic Development Office, and our presenting sponsor, Florida Power and Light. My name is Cindy Brief. I'm the CEO of the Chamber, and we are so happy to provide this educational format for our local community. The mission of the Business Academy is to provide you, our business community, opportunities to advance your expertise and knowledge. We strive to highlight relevant issues and challenges in today's fast-changing business environment that will give you the leading edge. Just a few housekeeping tips. We have two ways to communicate during this event, the chat function and the Q&A. Please use the chat to post your business information, greetings, and contact information, and use the Q&A to ask any questions of the panelists. I'd now like to introduce our presenting sponsor from the Coral Springs Economic Development Office, the Director of the Economic Development Office, Christy Bartlett.
Thank you, Cindy. Good morning, everyone. It's hard to believe this is our last Biz Academy of the year. We postponed it a little bit, so we didn't get started until January, but I can't believe it's already June. We're very excited to continue our partnership with the Chamber. We hope to do so again next year. We've got a lot of exciting plans for the summer. We're going to be planning for our third Savor the Springs Restaurant Week that will kick off in October, but we'll be planning and working with local restaurants all summer long, getting that in place. We are also going to be updating our CRA master plan. The CRA sunsets in 2032, so we want to make sure that we've got that updated for some infrastructure projects to go on through the life of the CRA. We are also launching our Buy Local campaign. That's in partnership with our communications and marketing department. So we're excited to launch that this summer. It's also budget season here in the city. So we have our first budget hearings this month, and the final budget will be approved in September. So we're very excited about some of the new initiatives that we've proposed, and we hope that they get approved by the City Commission. And finally, we are still conducting retention visits with local businesses to learn about challenges and opportunities within the city. And if you're interested in requesting one of those retention visits, you can email me at kbartlett@coralsprings.org. And I will also put that in the chat. So thanks, everyone, and enjoy your final session.
Thank you, Christy. I'd also like to mention our dean sponsor of the Biz Academy is Florida Power and Light. At this point, we'd like to show a video on behalf of Florida Power and Light. We thank Florida Power and Light for sponsoring this as well, and we appreciate their support throughout the years. So we're going to jump right into our presentations right now. Let's start with Nastazia Laguerre, owner of Nothing Bundt Cakes, Coral Springs, and Fort Lauderdale. Naz, welcome to the virtual stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cindy. I'm going to go ahead and share. So first, I want to thank everyone for having me on this day to share basically my experience as a franchisee. Have a little short presentation. Going to start with the agenda. We're going to start with a little bit of information of who we are, what we do, why consider a franchise, why it works, the pros and cons, my final thoughts, and any questions and I'm happy to answer. So I'm going to start with a little background on myself and my husband. So I always like to share this story because I think it kind of puts everything in perspective as far as why I am a franchise owner. My first job is I'm the proud mom of two kids. Matthew is 9, Micah is 6. And I'm a former special education teacher, and one of my strengths has always been in classroom management. I taught primarily kids with emotional behavior disorders. So I learned how to basically manage different personalities, working with different people. So it was a great experience for me. I have a master's degree in education. And my primary responsibility at the bakeries is guest relations and bakery operations. I opened my first location in Coral Springs four years ago. At the time, there were no bakeries in Broward County, and my husband and I, we lived in Miami, and it was like, where do we go? Where do we put this first bakery? And we literally drove everywhere in South Florida, and came to Coral Springs, just fell in love with the community, and it was the right place to open my first bakery. Moved my entire family to Coral Springs, and 2 years later, after opening Coral Springs, we were approved for multi-unit franchise owners. Now open Fort Lauderdale location, and I have Boynton Beach location baking soon. So it's been quite a great experience. It all started with just a cake sample, and just frequency kept going back and going back. And after basically asking my husband to support me and starting this franchise, and wanting to do it, but also knowing that I have certain strengths, but I also have weaknesses. And so how do I complement my weaknesses? What are some things that I need in order to start a business? And certainly that's something that the franchise provides. I couldn't do it. I could not have done it without Dennis, my husband. He's more of the business person. He focuses more on bakery development, marketing programs, financial planning. He has an MBA from Northwestern Kellogg School of Management. So it was just a perfect match for us. And so I knew that I had certain strengths that I could certainly provide and to start a franchise, but I knew that there were certain things that I was missing. So with the help of Dennis and the franchisor, it worked out. As an owner, I wear many hats in the bakery, from trainer to customer service representative to mentor. Basically, whatever the business needs, I'm there. And I tell my team, there's nothing I can't do. So what we do, I'm gonna share a little video, kind of summarizes a little bit of everything about our bakery. So we are a bakery, but really we're a gift shop. We have several products available for our guests. This is a list of everything we have. Buntinis that are sold by a dozen, great for corporate parties, just a gift to take to any party. Bundtlets, personal size for personal consumption, 8-inch cakes, 10-inch cakes. We have cake decorations and a lot of celebration related retail. So I like to tell people that we're a gift shop. And we're in the business of not only cake, but we also bring joy. And one of my main goals when I opened my first location in Coral Springs was to make Coral Springs a sweeter place. So that's all we're all about, is not about just like the cake, but also being part of celebrations and an overall a great experience for our guests. So why a franchise? And I touched a little bit upon that in the beginning. A franchise is basically an organization. It has a successful product or service that's provided by a franchisor, provides you trademark and methods of doing the business, and as a franchisee, in exchange, you have the rights to own the methods and the product, and in exchange for a fee and ongoing royalty payments. A franchise is a great path to business ownership. It's great for some, but not others. So that leads me to pros and cons. And this is all based on my experience. I think it's proven product within an established market, proven business system. They provide you with, the franchisor provides you with training, brand recognition, operational support, and if anything you need in terms of like, you know, troubleshooting any issues within the business. Marketing support, it's lower risk and you higher likelihood of success, and you get to be your own boss. So that, you know, just that creates some flexibility, and kind of work around your own schedule. Excuse me, I'm trying to move this. Cons: restrictions on growth, restrictions on creativity, restrictions on operating procedures. When you are part of a franchise, you can't be creative. You have to follow a plan. It can be repetitive. It's what's proven, what works, and there are standards that you are required to follow. Obviously, there's a cost of the franchise fees, an ongoing investment, financial oversights, lack of privacy, and the duration of the franchise agreement. In our case, it's 10 years. So what happens after? And although one of the pros is having the operational support at the franchisor level, but there's also a lot of turnover in the support team. So, you know, constantly, you know, looking, you kind of like meet someone, you like them, they're your go-to, and then they move on to the next. So that could be a challenge. So a few things to consider when considering a franchise is to ensure that you have the adequate capitalization. To open a franchise, you must have a certain net worth, certain amount. You have to appreciate the investment required for a franchise. There's cost in building, real estate costs, the equipment, signs, licenses, permits, uniforms, insurance, training. There's a lot of different costs that go into starting and opening a franchise. Also, your prior experience and your strengths. I always tell people you should thoroughly evaluate your prior business experience before considering becoming a franchise owner. How do your strengths fit within the business? Assess the market availability. You will want to look at the market availability of the franchise and see if any available markets in your location of interest are the right fit for you. I also touched upon that in the beginning. A part of the reason Dennis and I took weeks just driving around everywhere is just, you know, just assessing markets. Will it work? Like, what does our brand, you know, need? Where do we go? So that's also very important. And the initial franchise fee, there is a cost to starting up and having the rights of owning the franchise. So, and obviously, you know, they're just their royalties, advertising, and it's all based on a percentage of your weekly sales. My final thoughts, buying a franchise could be a worthwhile decision, but I also think that choosing the right franchise, one that complements skills, interests, lifestyle, is the key to success. You have to be all in, have to be willing to step in. It's definitely a lifestyle adjustment, but if you're fully committed and you enjoy what you do, there's no reason why it can't be successful. And any questions, happy to answer them.
So you decided to choose the Nothing Bundt cakes. So what made you go with baking, you know, the bakery itself?
So as growing up, celebrations, birthdays were a huge part of my childhood. There was, you could not have a birthday without having cake. And it was just like, no, and it had to be cake. That was like a mandatory thing. So I was exposed to Nothing But Cakes actually because I was looking for a cake for my son's first birthday, and we lived in Vegas at the time. And being new to the area, I didn't know anything, and I just did a quick Google search and I saw Nothing But Cakes. Never heard of it. Let me go and see. And just remember, I had my first sample of cake, and I was just like, wow, this cake is just amazing. And it's just, you know, just the homey feel of the store, the cute little gifts. And I just found myself like going back, not only because I love the cake, but I just, you know, it was just like my go-to for anything related to gifting. I'm not a baker. It's not something that I could say that I've had a passion for. I tell people I have the cleanest kitchen. And the first time I ever baked a cake and frosted a cake was at training. But it's just, for me, it was the whole idea of celebration and bringing joy, giving back to my community. That was one of the things that I appreciated the most about Nothing But Cakes, because it is a bringing joy. It's, like I said, making Coral Springs a sweeter place. That was the first thing I wanted to do. And it's just, you know, power of, you know, reciprocity. It's just, you know, just helping however you can and just being part of people's day-to-day occasions. It's, you know, we have people who come in for a birthday, baby shower, wedding, I mean, gender reveals. Those are like our favorites. Like, customers will literally give us an envelope and they have no idea what they're having, and it's just, you know, oh my gosh, what is it? And it's just, you know, it's just, that to me was the reason why I felt that this brand was the right one for me. And because it really tied into my values, what I believe in, and what I wanted to do for my community.
Excellent. Very good.
I just love that, Naz. And I want to say that, you know, immediately Naz and Dennis came into the chamber. We met them as soon as they got here. They jumped right in, and, you know, they do wonderful things in our community. And we appreciate them so much. They help us out at the chamber all the time. We've given gifts to all our new members and renewing members, and they have it's a great marketing plan, and I love the passion that you have. I have one question. You have 2 young children and you have a franchise. Tell me how you do this work-life balance.
It's definitely challenging, and to be very honest, during the whole interview process, because again, you have to go through an interview before you get approved for a territory. That was one of the questions that I was asked. At the time, my daughter was a year and my son was 4, and it definitely is a challenge. Holidays are non-existent for me. And, you know, I work 80+ hours during holiday season. I do my Christmas shopping in October because there's no way. I learned the hard way the first year, going to Walmart on Christmas Eve to get Christmas, and so my kids can have a Christmas. But it's about having the right people to support you as at the bakery level, and also family. And I'm fortunate to have my mother. Although she lives in Miami, but she's, she knows holidays, she's up here, and she's always available to help me and to support me with the kids. But it's just, I always tell people, like, my first job is being a mom, and by doing that, by having that mindset, is just, I've never missed anything for my kids. Like, I've never missed a show. I go to practices. I just try to be there as much as I can. And also, since I've been in this business since they were very little, they're kind of used to it. So they know when holidays are coming. They're very involved. We share everything with them. Mother's Day is coming, so mommy's gonna be working a lot. But then they know, after the holidays done, I'm home, and and I'm there with them. So I think they're kind of used to it, so it doesn't really affect them as much. But it's just having the right team in place, and I'm very fortunate to have great team members at the bakeries that also know that I'm a mom, and they know that at 1 o'clock when my alarm goes off, it's okay, Naz, you have to go get the kids. And I have a reminder at 1:15. So it's just having that, the right people in place at the bakeries, with the help of my mother, and also, just Dennis and I kind of like mapping out our days and dividing and conquering. That's just how we do it. I tell people there's no secret. You kind of figure it out.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. Becky, do we have any questions?
I don't see any, but it is funny that you mentioned that, Naz, about your Christmas time and your holidays being very, very hectic, because when we went to book you for this event, it was way back when in December. And I spoke to your husband and he was like, there's no way that we can do anything until and I was like, don't worry, it's all the way in June.
Yeah,
We're
no,
going
and
there.
I always apologize to people who try to get in contact with me anytime from November till January 1st, because it's a tough time. It's a hard time for me. Lots going on, busy, and this year I actually had 2 bakeries, so
Yeah.
two bakeries to manage, and so it was definitely new to me. So needless to tell you, that's why Dennis mentioned that to you. But I'm always available. There's always somewhere that somehow to find me.
Well, it's just funny too. Yeah, because the holiday seasons, you do everything, during that session or during that time of period when we're all trying to like be together, and you make that season brighter for other people. So we appreciate that.
Yes, and again, it's it's bringing joy, and it's just knowing that there's a nothing but cakes with the Christmas pancetta at a dinner table, and people sharing their pictures with me. It makes the hard work and the 80 hours and the time invested in the stores, like just the body aches, everything you can possibly think of, worth it.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. It's you could see the passion that you have, and thank you for making Coral Springs a sweeter place. And thank you for being an amazing member of our chamber. We love having you as a member, and we thank you for everything you do for our community.
Absolutely, and I look forward to continuing doing the same. Coral Springs is my baby, my first child, I say.
Right.
Kind of, well, I can't say my first child, but like, you know, it's
Sure.
just, it's that's the bakery that taught me everything. It was and I couldn't have done it without the community and the support from the chamber, economic development, the city is just, and everyone, the people, it's just the schools. The list can go on and on and on, and it's been amazing.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your story. And I love your passion. So next up, we have another amazing chamber member, and her name is Lisa Finch, and she's the owner and chief creative officer of Signarama Coral Springs. So Lisa, we want to hear your story. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here today. I'm going to try to share my screen here to show my presentation. All right. So I have the share. Okay. I think we got it. So I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about to franchise or not to franchise. You know, what is all involved in franchising. My husband and I have owned franchises. We've owned 2 of them, actually. And one of the experiences we had was with a restaurant. I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but it was with a restaurant situation, and it was not as positive as the second franchise we have, which is now with Signarama. We owned the first one for 10 years, and then now we're in our 10th year with Signarama. But we are definitely looking to continue on there, and we've enjoyed the experience. And we picked Signarama because a lot of times people ask us, why did you pick signs? And we picked Signarama because being in a restaurant and listening to Nastazia talk about the 80 hours a week, it does require a lot of time. The business was open 7 days a week. And so, you know, having to be in there and support, you know, and spend those 80 hours at times was hard, and we wanted to start a family. So we did sell the franchise after 10 years and started a family and went into a different business where James went into banking at the time, and I was in healthcare. That's what I had been doing. And James, the whole banking industry kind of dropped out in 2010, or so, and he was let go in 2011. Because the bank branch that he was in, or the bank, was downsizing. So they took half the managers of the branches and laid them off. So the other half had had at least 2 branches. And so then we started looking as to what's next. And though he was looking around and trying to see if he could get back into banking, and spent a year doing that, and had many interviews and got up to the top 2 because of his experience being only about 8 years in the business of banking versus somebody else who was also up for the job being 25 years in banking. He got looked over because of that, because they took the experience. So we were like, what's next? And my husband is the entrepreneur in the family, the risk taker, I should say. And so we decided to look again at a business, and we found a company called United Franchise Group, which is up here in West Palm Beach. And we went and talked with them, and they have multiple franchise opportunities available. So we sat down with one of the brands, which is Trans World Business, and they showed us many, many different franchise opportunities. And as I know Nastazia was saying, you have to look at your skills and see, like, what skills do you have? What are you looking to do? And we wanted to go into business together. So at that time I had stepped away from my job because we had our son, and he was at 6 years old at the time. And so we're like, what can we do together and get started with the business? I was only supposed to be in the business for 6 months, part-time, and here I am full-time 10 years later. So, but it's all okay. We've learned a lot, and it's been a great experience. So we're going to move on to a tale of 2 franchise experiences. So with the first franchise, like I said, it was the restaurant. We had a couple stores operating just in the local area. It was not a franchise owner who had multiple locations throughout the country or overseas or anything. He was kind of new to the whole process of franchising, And I do believe that James was either one or two of the first two stores that were franchised from the restaurant. And so that was a little bit of growing pains there in and of itself, being that everybody's learning together at the same time. The brand, of course, was being small, wasn't as well known, so it wasn't driving in as much business because of that. But business was good. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it just wasn't having as much brand recognition. We did have our royalty payments, and our payments were 6% of our sales. Our monthly sales were to royalty. And then we had a 3.5% for advertising costs that we had to spend as well. And with the advertising, there wasn't a lot of advertising going on. Occasionally, the franchisor would do a commercial, and James and I would, or a billboard or something, and James and I would be often frustrated because we were in a restaurant, so we were marketing and selling food, and the billboard would have nothing to do or show our product in any way, shape, or form. Or even a lot of times the little mini commercial that they would do wouldn't be promoting the food. It was more on a satirical kind of a being funny kind of thing, because that's the personality of the franchisor. So that was often frustrating because you're paying this money in, but you're really not getting much for what you're paying. Of course, as Nastazia said too, there's restrictions on your business operations. You do have to follow the plan that's there for the business. And often we had no choice of vendors, so we had to use their bread vendor. We had to use their certain vendors for a lot of things. So if you wanted to go look for a vendor that had maybe a better cost scenario for you and stuff, you couldn't do that. You had to stick with the vendors that they had. And the other thing that was the hardest part, I think, was the interactions with the franchisor themselves or their representative, operations advisor, if you want to call it, were poor. They were not lifting you up. They were not coming in to see how they could help you. It was more of a critical, come in and tell you what's wrong, come in and tell you that you're not doing a good job, even though that wasn't the case. Because like I said, my husband was the main one in there and building the business and stuff, but they did not know how to communicate well and how to really, again, be a franchisor in the way that you would hope that the situation would be. So with that being the case, paying those royalty fees was very difficult, because you're paying for 6% of what you're making to somebody where you don't feel like you're getting 6% back out of it. So that makes it harder to make those payments for sure. And a lot of times I think people, when they look at a franchise, should I franchise or should I get into one or not? The biggest thing that is one of their hiccups is the fact that they don't want to spend that extra 6% or whatever the royalty fee is, and they don't see the value in that. So you have to definitely see the value in what you're getting for that money to be okay with giving that money away each week, each month, or whatever it is that you're doing. So let's look at our franchise number 2. Let's look at Signarama. So with Signarama, as you can see, just even looking at the screen, you have 2 lines of things that we're getting from Signarama compared to the one. There was over 900 stores when we came in the United States and around the world that they had for franchises. And the brand was already well known. So we did have our royalty payments of 6%. However, there's a cap in place that when you hit a certain amount of money, you don't have to pay royalty anymore. So that actually is a huge benefit, and it actually almost unheard of in a lot of franchise companies. They don't have a cap. So that's a nice perk there. You are an independent owner and operator of your business and decision making. So here with Signarama, though they have operation advisors available and they come in and they are there to help you with business development, with accountability if you want it, ideas and stuff, but they're not sitting there telling you you have to do things a certain way. They even have, other than in a general sense, we have a lot more flexibility and decision-making ability of our own business. So it's nice to have a little more control there. And then with vendors, there's many vendors in the sign industry, because you're getting stuff from all different locations, making many different types of signs. So we have actually a department that's vendor relations, that their sole focus is on getting group pricing. So they're trying to get the pricing down for us so that because we can buy and have bulk because of the fact there's so many franchises out there, that we can now get our pricing down and get discounts, which is great. And again, it helps the franchisees because we can then pay less than if we were to go by ourselves and try to pick vendors. But again, within that, we can select what vendors we want to use. There's not just one vendor to get one thing from them. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. Training is very important. And as Nastazia said, that's one of the things you are buying into with a franchise is getting training opportunities. So one is that when you go in, you get a certain amount of training up front, whether it be in a store, whether it be like at Signarama and at United Franchise Group. They brought us in for 2 weeks of boot camp, if you want to call it that, for learning the business in their training facility before we went into our store. And then we had hands-on training for the next month or so with operations advisors there. But they continue with ongoing training. So they're doing sales boot camps often, where they have your sales reps come in or owners come in, and you can get training if you choose. They have annual conventions. We have annual sign conventions and regional meetings and different types of, we have a World Expo coming up right now in June at the end here, where they're having their own vendors coming into the Palm Beach County Convention Center and having it for all the brands. So with United Franchise Group, I believe they have 7 or 8 brands at this point. So they're going to be targeting everybody and bringing everybody together and bringing often encouraging speakers for in general business, not just honing in on signs or just honing in on their restaurants and stuff that they have. So that's great as well. They have manuals and online training for all positions that we have within our company. So people can, you can actually hire somebody and have them sit and watch those training videos and stuff. And the operations advisors are actually willing to come in and help you train that employee because they know you're working your business. So that helps as well, especially if you have a sales rep that needs to be out and working the area. They can go out with that person while we're out doing our own sales and marketing. They also have a full marketing department for Signarama. So I love that because they're building and developing email blasts for us to use, newsletters that we can send out, marketing materials we can hand out, and even videos that they're making. They've actually made several videos at our store, and they post them on the website and whatnot, which is for all the websites. They also develop our website, manage it, and keep it up to date and with the maintenance, and always are looking to build it in strength and yeah, I guess viewership, if you want to call it that. So they're doing that. I don't have to worry about that aspect of things. That is not my forte, so that's a good thing. And social media, they even give us social media content, and they will post for us on our like Facebook or our Instagram or something like that. Though I do go on and post myself as well on things and projects that we've completed to show what we're doing for our specific location. We are also getting content that's for Signarama in general that's being posted for us to keep our social media fresh and having new things being posted. If I had to do that all the time, that's almost a job in of itself. That's one of the aspects that takes time to do, and you either hire somebody to do that for you, or you have somebody helping you out, or you do it. So it's up to you how you want to handle that. And then we have SEO and social media marketing available. There is a program that they offer that we can pay into. So we don't have a set advertising fee that we have to put into, send to the franchisor like I did with the other place. But now I can have a choice where they have a thing called a marketing fund. And so I can pay for that. And that then gives me a certain amount of money in dollars towards my SEO marketing, social media marketing and things. Plus I can add more money to that, or I can do it myself and not use their marketing fund at all. So again, a lot more flexibility in decision-making and independence with Signarama. And I do enjoy that aspect. And we selected Signarama too, because it's not 80 hours a week. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And we do try to get home. I have a son who's now 15, and he is doing virtual school this year, but it's still important to be home. He can be home by himself, which is great, and he does a great job with that. But he still needs his parents. And I am, like Nastazia said, I'm able to go and be there for him in any sports he's been doing, any activities he has and things like that he needs. I love that James can stay at the store. I can go and be with him, or vice versa. And we're able to be there for our son as well, which is very, very important to us, and having that flexibility. So as you can see, you can have a different franchise experience. So if you're looking at a franchise, it's very important, I think, that you look to see what are you going to get for that 6% and or that advertising cost, and finding out really, you know, what's is the value there for you to get into a franchise to pay that money. So that's important. All right, so again, I told you in the beginning that a lot of times people hesitate to get into a franchise because they don't want to spend that monthly royalty fee. They don't see the value in that. They feel like they're giving their money away. And if you can't get over that hump, do not franchise. It's not, you're going to be frustrated that you're doing that, and that's not worth it. So, but I want to show you here. This is two different stores that are actually operating in the Coral Springs location. And one of them is a type of business that's very similar to ours. And this is looking at annual gross sales between the person on the left being at 250,000. They are a privately owned business that's doing, again, similar to the signs and things like that. And then you have the gross sales where we've been at a certain point with our business on the right. And as you can see, there's a difference of double the amount of money being brought in, as you can see, from 250,000 to 500,000. And again, these are just estimates on what I'm giving you here. But I want to show you that if your annual expenses, let's go off the fact that most people are hoping to make at least 20% net profit at the end of this whole scenario, okay? So your annual expenses being approximately 80% or so of your business, we took the expenses out, and then we also took out royalty on my side, but of course there's no royalty on the privately owned business. But the interesting thing is, if you look at the bottom, I added the 6% back in that I'm paying out for my royalty fees, and that's included in my 80% of my expenses. And your net income, even at 26%, is 65,000 on the privately owned company versus 20% at 100,000. So I'm still making more money, even though I am a franchise paying a royalty fee. Because why? Well, because I have the brand recognition. People look online, they look up signs, Coral Springs or something, and when they see Signarama, they, hey, I know that name, or I've seen that name before because there are other locations around, or they've been in a different city and they've moved their business here, or they've come here for some reason and they recognize the brand. So they go with brand recognition versus a sign company that's just a mom and pop shop that they don't really recognize and know. So that's where we have the advantage of being selected over somebody else. And of course, the other thing, which is any business, privately owned or franchise, is, you know, your reviews. Of course, your Google reviews and things are very important because people do select you off of your Google reviews and what they're seeing as a business that's showing a very positive influence on the community, as Nastazia would say. So I just wanted to show you this because a lot of times, again, that hang up is on that 6% royalty fee. All right, so what franchise is right for you when you're looking at franchises? Now, this is going to kind of parallel with what Nastazia has already said. That means great business minds think alike. And so what business, when you're looking at picking a franchise, what business are you passionate about? So you're going to be the face of the business or the salesperson, at least initially, to get the business off the ground and going. And then you can always hire that salesperson to help you in the long run. But if you're not passionate about your business and enjoying and loving what you're doing, then it's hard to sell it. It really is. You have to really have that feel for it. People feel your passion. So figuring out what that passion is, then selecting a business that you already have some type of skills for. So like I told you, when we started looking at United Franchise Group and business opportunities that are franchises, they showed us a lot of different things. I mean, there was things along the lines of, you know, tutoring. There was along the lines of restaurants. There was along the lines of, you know, trying to think what else, you know, marketing companies, different things like that. So the whole thing needs to be looked at as, what is it, even business, even selling businesses, what is it that is something you already have some skills for? Because you're not going to walk in completely blind. Granted, they have training and you could do it completely blind, but it still makes it a lot harder on you. So what are you good at? And kind of, you can be taught the rest of it if you can build off of that. The next thing is also selecting a business that you can ride the waves of the ups and downs of the economy. So we've all had a big test of that this past year. And you got to look at businesses as, is it something that's needed by everybody or just by an exclusive group? So if you're looking at signs, everybody needs signs somewhere along the line. They're opening their business, they're trying to promote their product, they have to put signs on their car. They need signs to go out of business, unfortunately. We catch them on the inside and outside, going in and out, unfortunately. But people need signs all the time. So even when the pandemic, guess what? There were signs needed to explain what the COVID rules were for each business, or what was the flow for the vaccine sites and testing sites, different things like that. There was signs still needed. Whereas if you look at another opportunity, which is tutoring, and I'm not knocking it at any way, shape, or form, because I think it's very important that that is offered. But tutoring, you can do without it for a little while if you had to. So when people start to, maybe there's an economy being a little sluggish and they have to cut somewhere, where are they going to cut, and are they going to cut out you? So, pest control, you're still going to have bugs. They really can't cut you out for very long. But tutoring, maybe they can do their own tutoring at home with their child instead of paying somebody to tutor their child. So that's an expense that they can put to the side for 6 months or so. So you want to look at that to make sure, again, you've got a business that's going to ride the waves of the ups and downs, and so that you stay in business. You also want to pick a great location. Now, for franchisors, if they have multiple locations, and Nastazia did her homework, looking around, but they have different locations for you to pick from. But I have seen people pick where you want to go where there's a high traffic area, where people are going to see your business. It's not tucked away back in the corner of a shopping plaza that people can't find you. It's not hidden in a warehouse area where people don't even know you exist. So, and again, it also depends on what kind of business you have. So food obviously needs to be much more out in the open, where people even walk by and will come in and come into your business. Where signs, they tend to have to look it up first, because they're not looking around and walking by your store going, I need a sign today. There's usually a need for a sign, and then they come looking for you, not just walking in the store and browsing and picking a sign. So it is important to look, though, even if you are a sign business or whatever, that you are visible, high traffic area, because it's only going to help you. The other thing that you want to look at too is selecting a business that's right for you. Like, do you want to start up where the business is going to go to a brand new location? Or do you want to get a pre-existing location that maybe the owner wants to sell? So the franchisor can offer you, especially if they have multiple locations in the area, they may offer you these choices. So looking to see what's best for you. A startup is going to be a little more work on your end to get out there and let the people know about the brand. If there's not one in your area, let them know about the brand, get the business up and running, getting customers to come in the door. And that capital is going to have to be there to help support you to get that business going, versus one that's already existing, that has a customer base, and now these customers are already used to coming in, and you can build from that base. Your income starts to come in a little bit faster, but sometimes you are paying more money for that franchise that's pre-existing than for the franchise that is a startup. Then a lot of times your price may be a base price for a startup business, where they're giving you your equipment and all that kind of stuff, build out and stuff to get going. So those are things that you want to consider when you're looking at a franchise and saying, hey, which one is best for me? And things to think about when you're talking with your franchisor, or being prepared, thinking ahead before you go in and talk with them. Now, lastly is, should you franchise your business? So I have never franchised a business like I had it, my idea, and I want to go out and build and add multiple locations. So I can't give you a lot of information about that. However, if you are thinking about franchising a business, you can check with a consulting or franchising company to help you with that. And I did give you, on here, United Franchise Group that is located in West Palm Beach. They do look at franchises, and their whole sole purpose is to help people who want to franchise their business get up and running. So if that's a place to start, there may be a lot more other places out there that I'm just not aware of. So I'm not saying that is the only place, but at least it gives you a place to start and someone to talk to. And they've been in business for 35 years. So they do have experience with different types of brands as well. So that is my take on franchising, and also just, again, making sure that you are looking at the franchise and evaluating them as much as they are evaluating you. Okay. And I thank you for letting me talk today.
Yeah, so that was fantastic information, because
Thank
it
you.
really gave you, an eye on what to look for if you're looking to buy a franchise. And, talking about your two different experiences, and, just showing us what you got with your first franchise based on what you got with your second franchise. That's something that people could look for and, really understand what they're looking for when they, purchase a franchise. So that was really, really valuable information, and I thank you for sharing that with us. Do we have any other questions, Becky?
I do not see any other questions, but I also want to say for both of you guys, a very fascinating look at the subject, and very knowledgeable. And it really kind of allowed the audience to think about, like, if I was to open a franchise, what do I need to consider? What do I need to do in order to make this happen? So thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do not see anything in the Q&A box. But if I see something pop up, then I'll.
But I just thought it was, it was very interesting on, hearing from both of you and the different, takes on this. But like I said, I learned a lot from this, and I both, I see that both of you have passion. You're both, moms, and how you, consider how you're doing that is, kind of something that helps a lot of us as well. And just, really, I think for the general community, just for what they need to look for when they're thinking of doing something like this, and the pros and cons, you both really laid out. And you're amazing business leaders and amazing community members. And we thank you for being a part of our chamber for, many years, both of you. And thank you for sharing this information with our community.
Thank you.
So at this point, I'd like to just thank our sponsors, the City of Coral Springs Economic Development Organization, as well as Florida Power and Light. I hope that you were able to at least learn 3 things that you can take away from this presentation. I know I definitely did, and use it in your future. And if, a franchise is something you're interested in, I think you got a lot of information today. So this is our last class, as Christy had said earlier, of our 6-month series. And we look forward to starting an additional series. We will be sending out our attendees a survey to see what you may be interested in hearing about for next year. And I thank our sponsors again, City of Coral Springs Economic Development Office and FPL, for making this possible. Thank you to our speakers today. We had a wonderful final class of the series, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye, everyone. Nice to see
Bye.
everyone. Bye.